You're making a huge mistake in your ignorance of annuities. In fact, I'm getting ready. Check this out. I don't know if y'all can. Yeah, there you go. This is a sign for my kid going to Auburn right there. Anyway, so I did a video because we're having a graduation party here right now. Not yet, but about 2 hours. A whole bunch of people be showing up at old Shea Scanlon. I got to go to Zaxby's, got to go to Costco, got to go to Publix, get all kinds of stuff. Been cleaning all day. Woo, man. My wife is a drill sergeant. I was like, yes, drill sergeant. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Whatever we call him. Anyway, so as you know, I did my thing, taking on a Clark Howard for his idiocy about annuities and Fidelity. Fidelity's gonna sell people inappropriate annuities. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, dude. Then a couple of you guys. I've had a couple of emails on this too, like annuities are stupid. Annuities this. I'm like, dude, you just don't know what you're talking about. One guy says annuities aren't FDIC insured, they could go bankrupt. I'm like, dude, I hear this all the time about insurance companies. I'd like to know any annuity that didn't pay out. I'd love to know that. What? Give me an example. Just give me an example, because I can give you a million examples of banks that don't pay out. I mean, any annuity that didn't pay out. What is it? I mean, give me a break. That doesn't mean it can't, but if we're comparing risks of FDIC, do we not know what FDIC is? Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. How did they have the money to bail people out? Oh, by the banks that are part of FDIC paying a fee. Isn't that weird, right? Yeah, it's not like this unlimited cash that the government is backing it. Come on, man. That's an idiotic thing to say. On top of that, annuities, again, we have New York Life, MetLife, Northwestern Mutual, USA. Some of these companies go back many, many years, and they've been notorious for being conservative investors that have done quite well by their annuitants. It's just a fact. And I mean, I'd love to hear people say, well, no, this company, dude, I know there's some companies on long-term care that went kaput. Penn Treaty, I think is what it used to be called, and I had some clients who had policies with Penn Treaty. Guess what? The Penn Treaty was bought out by another insurance company who held true to the contract of the Penn Treaty contracts that they signed. Anyway, I hate that argument, because it's kind of like, oh, your pension is more secure because it's PBGC, then annuities are more secure. I'm like, are you not familiar with what PBGC is? Are you not familiar with the history of pensions? I'm not saying that FDIC or PBGC aren't secure. I'm just saying when you're discounting X to say it's not as secure as Y, and Y's are public benefit guarantee corporation, which are paid by fees by the corporations who are part of it. Anyway, it just drives me up the wall. This guy said, annuities don't pay dividends. I said, what? I said, what are you talking about? Immediate annuity doesn't pay dividends, it pays income. It's like, okay. Fixed annuities don't pay dividends, they have an interest. CDs don't pay dividends. I was like, what is this, man? Variable annuities absolutely pay dividends. I think what he's referring to, of course, is indexed annuities, which don't. But he doesn't make the distinction between indexed annuities and just all annuities. And that's just a mistake, dude. I've heard this a million times in my career. All annuities are bad. And I said, what? It's like, what are you talking about, man? Oh, my God. It's like, all annuities are bad because they don't pay dividends. That's just an idiotic thing to say. I just like, come on. All right, then part 3, they don't have inflation adjustment. Again, we're matching annuities. Fixed annuities don't have inflation adjustment. That's true because they're literally fixed. But guess what else doesn't have inflation adjustment? A CD! It's like, what are you talking about? It's just the weirdest thing. Income annuities don't have inflation adjustments. That's why you don't put all your money in an income annuity. You have an income annuity and you still keep your money outside of an income annuity in order to have a hedge against inflation via, hopefully, stocks. But if you think stocks are always and everywhere a hedge against inflation, I got news for you. I've done a video on this before, but I'll do it again probably tonight, because it's like, dude, it's idiotic to think that. All right, what else does this guy say? So they don't adjust with, a single company risk. That's like, dude. No, I hope no one's saying put all your money in a Northwestern Mutual annuity, a USA annuity, or anything. No one's saying that. I mean, if you are, then go pound sand. No one's saying take all your money and put it all into a single issuer. That would be stupid. What I am saying is annuities can be a nice way to allow you to be more aggressive in your portfolio. Why? Because annuities take some of the income needs off your portfolio. All right, so they take some of the the risk off the sequence of return risks that your portfolio has, which means you can be more aggressive on your portfolio. Single company risk, that's if you have everything. I mean, I had a client, I'll never get this lady, a great woman, I can't remember her name, but I'd probably dealt with her in 2010 or something like that, and she lived in Houston. USA had a lot of ExxonMobil employees, and this lady had like $1 million. Half was in ExxonMobil stock, half was in cash. And when we're running financial planning software, it said she was a 50-50 balanced investor with a like a standard deviation and expected rate of return of a balanced portfolio. And I told, we'll just call her Missy. I said, Missy, but you're not a 50-50. You're a single stock risk in ExxonMobil and a bunch of cash. In of itself, that's not the same thing as a 50-50, like a Vanguard balanced portfolio or something like that. It's just not even close. Because you literally have single stock risk in this one company. And we just look back to Enron, from which she had worked previously, because remember, Enron was big in Houston. A lot of the Enron employees went over to ExxonMobil and said that's single stock risk. An annuity is not a single stock risk unless you have all your money tied up into annuity. If you have all your money tied up into Exxon or freaking, I don't care, Apple, or freaking Enron or WorldCom, yeah, you have single stock risk. But how many people do? And this annuity, just no one's sitting there saying put all your eggs in this one annuity basket. It's just silly. Anyway, the point about annuities is a variation. There's variable annuities, which you invest in. You could invest in the stock market, and mutual funds, index funds even, right? And they do charge more than a mutual fund. Why? Because they have other what's bells and whistles, what are called riders, RIDERS. They have these contracts they can add on as a rider to your initial contract. A rider would be a death benefit. Another rider would be an accelerated death benefit if you needed long-term care or something like that. Another rider would be a guaranteed minimum income benefit, a guaranteed withdrawal income benefit, a guaranteed. I used to sell these things from Pac Life, and then again John Hancock, Pac Life, Ohio National, and Pac Life, I think, guaranteed never to lose money if you held it for 10 years. You dropped $100,000 after 10 years, you're guaranteed to get $100,000 back as the worst case scenario. All these things cost money. They're not like an index fund, because index funds don't have these riders. There are no guarantees, none whatsoever. So if you're going to compare an index to an annuity, especially a variable annuity, you'd have to, yes, the index fund will outperform the variable annuity at all times. If you're just taking from point A to point B, I shouldn't say all times, I can't say that, but generally speaking, the vast majority of times it will, because an index fund is naked. It has no riders attached, has no extra fees. However, when it comes to the other bells and whistles that you're paying for in the annuity could absolutely beat the index without question, because the guaranteed minimum income benefits, death benefits, all this stuff. Now, that doesn't mean you should buy it, but a variable annuity absolutely can outperform an index depending on how you're using your variable annuity. Now, it costs more. So if you're just looking at all-in growth of your portfolio, I can assure you the variable annuity will underperform the index almost all the time because of heavy in fees, without question. The fees are what you're paying for extra contracts that go with the fund, go with a contract. And if you don't know that, you should stay away. But if you do know that, that's absolutely acceptable for sure. Then you got index annuities. Not the biggest fan of index annuities, all by and large. I think they get way oversold as stock replacements. They should be looked at as bond replacements. Even Roger Ibbotson said that many years ago when he got in the field of index annuities. If you want an enhanced bond portfolio, you might want to look at an index annuity like that. But I'm just not the biggest fan of them. They don't pay dividends and whatnot. They are point to point, generally speaking. They are heavy expense, long surrender charges. I can't imagine a salesperson would ever sell that to you without informing you of all these things, though. And hopefully they'll sell it to you, informing you of all the negatives, but also say, here's what you get out of it. Let you make your decision on whether or not you want to do that. I'm not the biggest fan. I think you can do better than an index annuity with just a good old-fashioned BND and VTI. Fixed annuities are literally, you're just dumping $100,000 in, you get 5% a year, whatever it is, for 4, 5, 10 years, something like that. That's it. That's why fixed annuities are great, because you know exactly what you're getting. You put $100,000 in, you wait a couple years, you're getting $100,000 plus your interest rate. It works like a charm. No downside risk, no principal risk. Oh my goodness, it doesn't keep up with inflation. Okay, well, you say the same thing about CDs. You can say the same thing about cash. It's silly. You say the same thing about bonds. It's just dumb. And then you got income annuities, which I'm a huge fan of. Income annuities, you basically dump $100,000 in, you get, $600 a month for the rest of your life. maybe $550 a month for the rest of your life. If you do a joint and survivor life annuity, i.e. it covers both you and your spouse. So that's not a bad deal. Does that adjust with inflation? No, but for a fact, I'm going to get this as a cushion each and every month as a baseline of my income, which means I can relieve the rest of my portfolio to be a little bit more aggressive. I'm a fan of all these things. Again, my favorite annuities are fixed annuities. I think they're great. My second favorite, of course, would be income annuities, and then my third favorite would be variable. I'm just not the biggest fan on index annuities, and that doesn't mean you shouldn't have one. I don't care, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, to be ignorant of these things and hold yourself out as Joe freaking Smarty Pants, I just don't like that. And it's this other guy, I think it's a different guy, says, yeah, forget the annuity, just go with an index fund. I was like, what? Oh my God, we're dealing in the world of Clark Howard clown people. It's like, yeah, no, never do an annuity, just do an index fund. I was like, dude, what does that even mean? Okay, never do a fixed annuity, variable annuity, income annuity. What do we talk about here? Because there's a whole bunch of different annuities. So to say never do an annuity, just do an index fund, it just makes me chuckle. Anyway, don't be ignorant. Ignorance is not bliss when it comes to your financial well-being. That's for doggone sure. Costco is crazy today. Oh my lands, I got to pick up a lot of stuff up here, and it's a freaking crap show. I'm not sure I can be able to park. If I come back empty-handed, my wife is not going to be too happy with your old buddy Josh. So you might not see me again. All right, God bless. We'll see you.